The legendary Sidonian families is actually built up of five families, which were the most powerful families. Um, they ruled. They were the families that ruled the planet of Sidonia together on a council. They are the Karech family, which actually becomes the present-day Kareko. Then you have the Anmokanu, which becomes the Animukin family. Kalio, which is a little more stranger, becomes a family known as Kahun, which eventually becomes into the current day Ronskanovich family. Then you have the Vordakov family and the Yantogray family. Now, the interesting thing about the five families is that they are actually all related to each other. Um, they are essentially all cousins of one another. And because of that, that is why they managed to ascend so well into power on Cydonia. It is, of course, the Yantogray family which controlled the council, and they had the most power because they were the most powerful of the five families, the most influential, the most talented, the best warriors, pretty much the best of the best. Um, you come to find out of several names from the different families. You also learn that Diego, being a descendant of the Antogray family, often conflicts with himself because he feels he has to prove himself worthy of his family name. And you come to find out that his family, of course, is the highest respected family there. Um, Going into the elementals now, you have a lot of different elementals that are out there, and there are, of course, they represent all of the different elements that are found in life. They are, of course, led by Lord Nairohin, who is actually the king of Trantosvis and the leader of the elemental people. Um, the top elemental commanders that he takes with him are part of his governing council, and they are actually deities. They are gods of Trantosvis, and they are heavily respected from their home planet. And these were, of course, the individuals that first invaded into Cydonia to lead the elemental occupation. And they are, of course, very powerful warriors. They are very skilled. There is a lot of mystery placed behind them, obviously, and I wanted to make sure that there was a lot of mystery retained in the book regarding them. Um, they are often referred to as the gods, and I give them that title because essentially they are. They may not necessarily be the gods of Cherkos, but they are gods nonetheless. Um, Three gods are mentioned in Cherkos, which are actually bona fide gods that govern over Cherkos. They are Lord Savannah, who is the god of land, and then you have Lords Kolu and Dekolu, who are actually brothers. Um, these three are actually referred to as the dark gods because they tend to align themselves more with the sides of darkness. Neither of them really like life or the living people, and they look as mortals. They pretty much look at the mortal people as expendable, and they grow angered that they are not praised upon as the gods that they used to be, that they are forgotten and placed in history. Um, and there are a few other dark gods in the book that is mentioned who also fuse with Diego Yanto-Grace, giving him unparalleled power. The Sidonians, you come to find out, are actually descending from deities themselves. That is why they are so powerful. Diego is actually used many times in the book as an instrument of destruction, and that's pretty much how the persona of the Black Dragon was born. Um, the elementals, of course, unknowingly used Diego as a weapon of their will, not knowing that he was actually a Sidonian. Um, they managed to give him half of their powers, and it was a mistake that, of course, they never made again, because fusing not only with the dark gods, not only his own power as a Sidonian, and then the added power of the gods made him into an extremely powerful individual, which was very hard to succumb to. And they essentially created a group of warriors to combat Diego and rip away from him the powers that the elementals had bestowed upon him, and they were sealed away to trying to keep him away. And originally Diego was a commander of an elite group of warriors that the elementals had bestowed upon the mortal people to help them, because they grew tired of having to do tasks and listen to the prayers of people. So they gave them these people which were known as the dragons, and they essentially placed them upon the mortals to aid them in certain tasks, but warned them not to misuse them. When the mortals began to misuse these dragons, they grew angry and turned on the mortals, and they fused with Diego, giving him all the powers, obviously, that the elementals had. You come to find out that Lakio Kareko, who is actually the father and founder of the Imperial Empire on Sargia, was part of another group that was created by the elementals to pretty much stop Diego. Diego was so powerful that he actually could not be killed. He could not be harmed. So he had to be put to rest. And by the use of not only the elementals' direct will and power, and through the use of holy and mystical spells, Diego's body was placed into slumber. And it actually remained so until he was released. And something that I don't mention in the first book is that Diego had actually managed to escape from his slumber several times before, until finally he was put back unknowingly to the people into his resting state, where he remained for about a good 20 years until he was released again. And he begins his conquest, of course, to take over the planet and return it to Sidonian control. You know, the elementals are actually loving people, and they do care about the people on Cherkos because they are praised by the people of Cherkos. But they are also somewhat sickening because they make wagers and they bet on the lives of the mortals. And essentially, you know, they are gods. I mean, they are all powerful. They provide for the mortals, and they tend to get a power trip knowing that, you know, they are the controlling beings. They are the people who control everything about life on the planet of Cherkos. Heading into some of the pronunciations for the families, you have the Yantogre family, and when you look at it the way it's spelled, it looks like it's Antogris, but it's actually pronounced Yantogre. Then you have the name Lakin, which is one of the commanders in the book. You have another name, Anamukin. The U is actually stretched out a little further. You have the name of another character, of course, Nairohin, who is the commander of the elementals. And even though it looks like his name is pronounced Nairokin, the K actually makes an H sound, giving it the Nairohin sound. You know, you do have another name of a emperor within the planet whose name is Dea Vega, and it looks like Della Vega when you look at it written, but of course the way the pronunciation is in the book is a little different from how you would normally see pronunciations made in real life. And you know, I kind of use this to my advantage to kind of add more of a fantasy feeling to the book. You know, most fantasy books usually tend to have interesting names or difficult names to pronounce, and names that you normally don't see around. You know, there are some key cities as well. Probably one of the most renowned cities that I have written in the book is actually Yontonapolis, which was named after Diego Yantogre, hence the last name Yontonapolis. And it is a very beautiful city. It is the most beautiful city. It is a kept secret. It is a jewel that was made that very few people know about. You come to find out that each nation has its own form of architecture and structures. Um, you come to find out that each nation is a little different from the other, but still somewhat the same. Um, you come to see that a lot of the Sidonians follow a lot of old school traditions, meaning that the rulers of the nations lead their men, um, and they are there present on the battlefield and not remaining only at home. Um, Throughout the book, you tend to develop an understanding of pride. Pride is the biggest thing to Sidonian people. It is proving that you are strong, that you are capable of being able to do something, that you can actually sit and overcome obstacles. You can take over things. You have the ability to control, destroy, and do as you please. And that's pretty much what the Sidonian people are renowned for, being so powerful, being so respected. And throughout the book, you come to figure out that there is a lot that is attributed to the Sidonian people. And they are still respected, even though they are no longer looked on as gods. Many natives still respect them. Humans tend to be the closest allies to the Sidonians because they are the only ones that continued their support to the Sidonians throughout the book. There are, of course, a handful of humans who challenge the Sidonian kind, but the majority of humans do align themselves with the Sidonian people.